What up, everybody? I don't think I've ever been live, but if anybody wants to talk about anything, you'll see that here I am. You see what I look like, and I have been through some tough times sometimes. But if you ever want to talk, I'm here. You can talk to me anytime you want. Message me, whatever. Don't feel like you can't never talk to nobody with what you're going through. Because I've done that myself. I've held back a lot of emotions. And I went through it for 10 years, holding back. And nobody would ever listen. Everybody always pushed me away. And they were like, oh, I know what you're going through. But really, they didn't know what I was going through. They didn't know what I was seeing. They didn't see the shadows that I saw for like 10 years. That they didn't hear nobody just outside of a room. That nobody was in the building. And you see shadows go by under the door. They didn't see them things. I dealt with these dreams for 10 years. And when my mama passed, they all went away. But these dreams are like you fear somebody that you know is going to pass. And these dreams, within 2 to 3 days, somebody that I knew would pass on, and it kind of helped me. Knowing that somebody I knew was not going to be here much longer. And it helped me deal with losing them and keeping the other family that weren't strong, standing by them to keep them going strong. And when you feel like you can't talk to nobody because nobody would understand you, and that nobody would listen to what you had to say. But if you need to talk, let somebody talk to you. Don't hold it back, because the tears, you may tear up while talking, but it's kind of good to tear up, because it shows that you're letting your emotions flow instead of holding them back, letting them build up until you break down and you can't hold them back no more. And you break down in front of everybody, and people wonder, why are they breaking down? Why are they doing this? Why are they crying in public? And then you have to tell them why you were crying, what the situation was. So before it comes to that point, let somebody talk to you. It was a dream about losing family, was what the dream was about last night. And that's what the dreams were always about when I would have them, was losing somebody close. And I would always lose somebody close to me. I don't want to lose nobody close. That's why if I see somebody that needs help, if they need to talk, I will try to talk to them. I don't understand the situation that all these people are going through, but I have been through a lot of the situations where I've known somebody that are going through split ups, people who have lost children, people who have lost parents. I know about that because I don't have no parents no more. Both my parents are gone. My grandma passed away. My grandma's sister didn't last long after my grandma. Now I'm having these dreams again. If anybody needs to talk, just know I'm here. Yeah, I even, what was it? After my daddy passed, was what screwed it up. When he passed, I couldn't take it. I, they said, oh, he's hemorrhaged in the brain, and he won't make it much longer. I fell out right there in the waiting room, passed out, and that's when the dreams started happening after that, because when I got home, I said, Dad, just let me see your face one more time. And his mama's face appeared on the wall. I wasn't even thinking of my grandma, but her face appeared on the wall beside him to let me know that it won't just my imagination showing me my daddy's face. And then after that, I started seeing shadows. I would walk out to the car, nobody was in the parking lot. A shadow would walk by the car. So I would sit there for a few minutes before I would leave. And people don't, you try to tell people that, and they'll just turn around and walk away. Like they don't want to hear it. Because they say, oh, that's the devil, that's the devil. That's how these church people do it. Yeah, I believe, and I got saved back in 1993. But when these church people say they understand you or they turn around and walk away, that makes you not want to go to church. So I stay here and I do my own thing. I made a website of my own talking about things that I've been through. And even though nobody's seeing my website, it's only got like 13 views is what it's telling me. At least that's 13 people that maybe had thought about hurting themselves, but they saw my site, and it might have kept them from doing anything, knowing that somebody else is going through the situations that they may be going through. But sometimes you have to let the feelings out and not hold them in. Never hold back what you're facing. And I don't know, whoever may be facing something, thinking about, well, it's hard to live without my son. But you know what? In January 2015, a friend that lived across the street from me that I grew up with, he was like a little brother to me. Even though I was years older than him, whenever he saw me outside, he would come running across the street wanting to play. And even though I was probably a teenager and he was still a little kid, I would play with him. Because he was that type of friend where you could do anything with him. And he was the only one that was really there for you. And he passed in January 2015. And I lost pretty much like a brother to me. And to my mama, he was like a son to my mama. So pretty much losing him, it pretty much made her go downhill quick. And by October of that same year, she was in the hospital going on herself. Because she pretty much lost a son like a lot of these mothers have lost their sons, that for reasons that nobody knows. Some may have hurt themselves, took their own lives. Some may have just went on because of like a hemorrhage in the brain. But she took it hard. Yeah, you're not alone. None of us are alone. Even though we feel alone, we feel like nobody's there for us. A lot of stuff that I wrote, I could show to my mama. One thing that I wrote not long before she passed, I never got to read it to her. She always wanted me to get up in front of church and to preach a sermon. It never happened. So instead of preaching a sermon, I was up there in front of the funeral reading what I had wrote. So even though she didn't hear it while alive, it got read at her funeral. It was pretty much like a benediction call. Even though it wasn't a sermon. At least I got up there, I held everything in. Didn't let no emotion show. I just got up there and read it. It's like you want to preach, but none of these preachers will let you preach because sometimes they feel it's all about them. That's why most of the time I don't go to the church building. Church is not a building. It's where two or more is combined and hearing a message. So it don't take 20, 30, 40 people to make a church. I could be here, just me and you, and it would be spreading the word just between us. But the preachers don't see it that way. You don't have nobody to talk to, so you stay online and you just read everybody's post that goes through the page. Even though you don't talk to them, you don't respond to most of them, you see what they're saying, waiting to see if somebody will message you and say, I need to talk to somebody. Will you listen? Because you never know, one person that you message and say, I need to talk, will you listen? They might be the person that will actually listen to you and understand where you're coming from. A lot of people don't understand where people are coming from, but there are some out there that have been through things and maybe have been through the same situation some of these other ones are going through. Yeah, the devil turns people away. And the thing about it, the devil is turning even Christians away from Christians. A dirty, helpless, poor man can walk in a church. And there is actually one of those churches around here where if you don't have money to tithe, you don't have like $20 to put in the offering plate. If you don't have that $20, when you come to the door, they'll turn you away and tell you to go on back home. And there is one of them churches here that will do that. They will not let you in the door, but yet they claim to be a church. If they're a church, they're supposed to welcome you in, not turn you away. But there's churches around in different states that will do that. They'll turn you away. And if a dirty, helpless, homeless guy was to walk up to a door of a church, they would turn him away because either he don't have money to tithe, he's too dirty to enter, he don't have on church clothes. But the church that I go to, when I do go, they would welcome anybody in because it's about bringing people to Christ, not turning them away. And even these places that says bisexual, if you're gay, if you're lesbian, it's wrong. Because even though they're that way, you can't turn them away. Because if you turn them away, that's just going to make them hate Christians more. And it's not Christian love if you turn away a person. And if you welcome them in, who knows? That person that was gay, lesbian, they could turn straight and start liking somebody of the opposite sex instead of the same sex. People don't know that. When I was young, I've had those thoughts. But then as I grew older, I kept thinking, well, I won't find a girl because I could never find nobody that would care for me. And they're thinking, do you have some kind of gum disease to why you lost your teeth? No, it's nothing about gum disease. Well, yes, smoking. Smoking makes you lose your teeth. Nope, won't smoking. The thing was, when I was young, I had this dentist that said I had cavities, and he chipped most most of my teeth. He chipped halfway and left nothing to them, and then he filled them. So then after that, he kept doing whatever in my mouth, and the chippings would get in my throat. And I kept trying to motion for them to do the little suction thing that they do. And he wouldn't do it, so I tried to sit up. And the dentist cussed me out right there in the back room, loud enough for my mama to hear him in the front room. I walked out that door, I said, before I go back to any dentist, I would lose all my teeth. And all my teeth started going bad, and I ended up having to go back to a dentist. But the thing was, that dentist was a lot better than any of the other ones I've been to, and he would have the teeth out in no time. But people are going through different situations. And even if you're out there and you may not have no teeth in your mouth, and people are picking on you for that, and it brings you down to depression, anxiety, or whatever, because people are picking on you for not having teeth. Make some kind of joke out of it. People picked on me saying, he don't have no teeth. So I made a joke out of it. They started laughing at my joke. But I knew it was entertaining, because that's what it was partly to do, was to make them laugh. 'Cause I'm Grandpa, and Grandpa don't care if he loses all his teeth. And that's the joke right there. I would do a Grandpa voice. To make them laugh about it. So many ask for help, and so many do slam doors on them. And some of these people that are asking for help takes their own life because they feel nobody will listen to them. But they haven't run into that one person that will listen. So like with my dreams, all these dreams that I did have, when my mom passed, they went away because shortly after I came across LOTL, and the dreams went away. So I didn't have to go night after night listening to Lawyer Mike stand, because I didn't need the song no more. Yeah, God didn't make ugly people. God made each of us different. And even though people see us, some people say I'm ugly because I'm toothless. Some people say I'm ugly because of what I wear. I'm ugly because I'm skinny. They say people are ugly because they're fat. But you want to know something? All these years growing up, I liked skinny women. But you want to know who was there for me? My mama started going downhill. Who was there for me? It wasn't a skinny woman. It was someone who had a little weight on them, who had been through things themselves. They hadn't been through the same situations I have been through, but they had their own outcomes. They had their own marriage split ups where a man left them and it made them feel bad about themselves, feeling that nobody cared for them and they wouldn't let nobody else into their life. But then one night at karaoke, they come to karaoke, but what they didn't know is that person that they didn't think would be there for them has been with them. They were going out with each other for 4 years, from 2011 till 2015. They were going out together. Got engaged on November 26th, 2015. So, me and her still ain't got married yet. And people keep saying, well, if you're not married, you're having cold feet. It's not cold feet. It's just that, unlike these people that rush into marriages, get engaged, and then within 10 days, they're married. But all these people rush into marriages, and then they end up splitting up after they have a kid or two. I haven't got a kid yet of my own, but I do. When I do get married, I will have 2 stepkids. Even though some people act like they're not my kid. But I pretty much known them since one of them was probably 3 years old and the other one was probably 5 years old. So pretty much I've been there most of their life. 4 or 5 years of their lives, even though I ain't took them in and grew up knowing them from a baby on. And that's one thing that also helped keep the dreams away, getting to see them. That's how some of these kids feel. They think it's my fault. Because after I came along, my parents split up. Some parents fuss at their kids, telling the kid it's their fault. And years go down the line, the parents pass on, the kid was never told it wasn't their fault. The kids weren't told it wasn't their fault. And these kids live on, thinking it was their fault that their parents split up when it won't. Some marriages just don't work out. It's meant for you to be with somebody else. And you went into a marriage thinking that that was supposed to be the one you were supposed to be with, when in reality it was supposed to be somebody else. So when I got engaged, even though it wasn't my kids, I made the kids feel like they were a part of it. I had the little boy get down on his knee and ask her to marry me, and then I got down on my knee and asked her to marry me. And that kind of made him feel special because he got to be a part of it. Because I thought about doing it in public at karaoke or something, proposing, but then I felt that the best way to do it is to have the kid to be a part of it. And what better day to do it on than Thanksgiving? When you're saying thanks for everything else, have thanks for being engaged. Like a site that I have, I can't get. I'm asking people to record videos of situations that they've been through, and I'll post it on my site. And some people probably think, well, I can't do this because I don't want my face to be shown. I don't want people to know that it was me that was saying it. I've got an editing program if you recorded video, I could easily blur out the face and change the pitch of the voice to go up higher or lower so nobody can tell that it's your voice, and then your message would still get put out online for others to see that may be dealing with the same situation. And then you could let your feelings show, but nobody will know who's actually saying it. It'll just be between you and the person who knows who it was, and nobody else would know who it was talking, except for you and them. Yeah, losing teeth is a tough situation. And it's a real painful situation and a money consuming issue. But it's a lot of times something that has to be done, and it may not be something that you did on your behalf to make your teeth go bad. You could have brushed every day. You could have rinsed every day, flossed every day. But still, your teeth go bad. Or it could have been a dentist that screwed your teeth up. And that's why you don't like that dentist. You will not go to that dentist no matter what. I could actually get a 75% savings, but the only company that really uses that dental service plan is that dentist office. And I have not been there since I was a young kid or teenager, however old I was when I started having the teeth problem with that dentist. But I will not go back to that dentist no matter what. And I could be saving 75%, but I won't go back because I know who that dentist office is. And they'll screw you over. Because most of the people that they'll screw over is the ones that are on Medicare, Medicaid. If Medicaid is paying for it, then they'll try to get as much money out of Medicaid as they can. When I went to the dentist years ago, they claimed that most of my teeth were whatever it's called, had plaque and everything on my teeth. They said, "Oh, we're gonna fill them," but the thing was that dentist office chipped them, leaving probably that much space on the outer layering, and then they filled the rest of it inside with filling. And within a few years, them fillings were coming out, and them teeth were falling out because the teeth had nothing to grip onto once the filling came out. And I would not go back to a dentist office to get them refilled because the situation was, when I went to that dentist, the little chippings from the tooth, as they were trying to fill the teeth, it kept getting in my throat. And you say, if I do this, if I raise my hand, use the suction the chippings out of my throat, but they wouldn't do it. So I tried to sit up and they cussed me out right there in the back room. You're going to a dentist to get your teeth checked, but the dentist cusses you out. It kind of makes you not want to go back to a dentist. And my mama was in the front waiting room, and she heard them cuss me out too. And I walked out that door. I told my mama, before I ever go back to any dentist, my teeth would fall out. I'll let them all fall out. And then the fillings started falling out, leaving nothing to the tooth, and they started breaking off to where I had to go and get them pulled out. Go to somebody that will actually listen and say, if you raise your hand, use the suction, because I got a heaving problem. Because after that, that's when I started having a heaving problem, to where if something touches my throat, I would have to sit up to get my breath back. And that's one reason that I couldn't go to the dentist after that. Yeah, there's a lot of dentists out there that would screw you up as a teenager because all they want is your money. They say they care about kids' teeth, but they don't. It's only about the money and how much they can get out of you. I'm 35 years old myself, 35 and toothless. To have them pulled because they were in the sinuses. And they say, well, the sinuses may come down when we pull them, so if that's the situation, we'll have to have it stitched up. When they pulled them, the sinuses came down, so they had to push the sinuses back up. And because of the wisdom tooth being there, they had to pull that on out too, which left a hole in between my mouth and my nose. So anything that, it's like I can't drink water because water is a thin liquid. I can't really rinse my mouth out too good because the mouthwash they gave me, it'll go through that hole and up into my sinuses and around my nose and come through there. So it's like I can't rinse. I can't really drink much. The only thing that I can drink is Meliello that's a thick liquid that won't do it. Because I was too young. I was probably 13, 14, 15 years old, if not younger than that, when they did it to me. So the last thing we really thought about was sewing them, even though we probably could have got money from it. But we didn't know, I didn't really know how bad that they had filled them or chipped them till years down the line when I started looking at the fillings and the fillings started coming out. When the fillings came out, I saw how much they had actually chipped it. And on the bottom part of the tooth, it didn't look like they chipped it much. But then when you got up in the top, you saw how much was actually gone after they fell out. So now, the first procedure in Greenville costed me $983 to have the 3 pulled and the wisdom pulled. The thing is, I don't know what the dentist's name was. I can't really remember the dentist's name. And I would have to figure out how to do it. And they'd probably want me to, I would have to find somebody that would allow me not to pay unless I win. Because if I have to pay, I won't be able to afford it. Because the first procedure costed $983 and then it didn't heal correctly. So now to go back to have it stitched up better, it's going to cost me $886 to have it done again. And if somebody ever says a school of dentistry is the best choice, they're cheaper, prepare to at least have $1,000 on you. Because if you don't have $1,000, you still can't get it done, taken care of. I'm not sure. I would have to check into it. And it's a tough situation in a way. When most of the people around here, if you ain't got money, they're not going to help you. And lawyers are the same way around here. Yeah, and sometimes, like with custody, child support and stuff like that, you pay all this money for child support. And really, sometimes it won't the parents' fault to why to split up the parents that's having to pay child support isn't the bad parent in the whole situation. That parent didn't know nothing about what was going on. the husband, the wife, or whatever left the other one and took the kids. So one parent's having to pay child support when they were left for no reason. They didn't cheat on the person. They didn't have nothing against them. But the parent that shouldn't be allowed to have custody, not in all situations, but some situations, the parent that has custody shouldn't have custody. You know, it's sad that split ups happen. And some parents try to work it out for the kids' sake, but sometimes it's not able to work out. Yeah, and that's about the only way you can get them. And sometimes the courts try to even deny you, and they make it like you're an unfit parent. The parent was keeping the other parent from seeing their children at all, saying, "Oh, they're sick. They can't come to see you. They only get sick when they come to see you." But if they only got sick when they went to see the other parent, how come they were staying sick all the time and they couldn't see the other parent because they were sick? And then after everything went on, after I proposed to her and had him get on his knees and ask her to marry me, and then I got on my knees and asked her to marry me, it was after that that she wasn't able to see them as much because he kept her from seeing them. She did nothing wrong. I had no bad record on me or nothing. But yeah, it was like she was having to suffer for me proposing, which it shouldn't be that way. But and they will get you. They will try to get you and say you did something wrong. It would be my future stepkids whenever I get married. It was her kids though, one boy, one girl, and because they're probably not old enough to make their own decisions, they're having to stay with the dad, even though the mama did nothing wrong. And the police supposedly cares about people, but they don't. They only care if it's a bad party in the thing. If it's a good part in the case, they act like they don't want to do nothing. And that when she wasn't able to see them, that made it feel like it was my part to why she couldn't see them, and it kind of brought me into a depression because I had just lost my mama in like that same month, and then right after I lost my mama, that's when everything started going downhill and she couldn't see them. And then because my mom passed on October the 1st of last year, and then I proposed on November 26th, like a month and however many days later, and that's when it all went down to where she couldn't see them. Yeah, if we could find more lawyers that will fight for you. He even hated me at first until we finally met, and I told him that I had nothing but love for those kids. If anything was to happen, I would do anything I could, or I would do whatever I could for them kids, because they were like my everything. Because before I met her and her kids, I was real bad. I felt nobody cared. But then the first day that I walked into that door and saw her kids, the kids had never seen me except for karaoke. They had never came up to me and talked to me. All they did was heard me sing. At karaoke, they didn't really talk to me or nothing. But the first time I walked in that door, The little boy ran up to me. Pick me up, pick me up. And I picked him up. And it was like, most kids, if somebody else comes into the picture, most kids will push you away and not want another man figure added to their life. But sometimes it takes a while for the kids to actually accept you, because they still don't accept you as a dad. But some parents can be cruel, even though they shouldn't be. They were the reason the breakup happened, because they decided that they would cheat on their wife for another woman, and the woman didn't do nothing. She didn't cheat on him, but yet the father that cheated has custody of the kids. I don't have none myself yet. Just the 2 kids that she has is all there is so far. I hadn't had none of my own, because I didn't never have anybody till her. She was the first one that I had ever been out with, and I didn't start get up with her till I was probably 31 years old. So that was waiting till true love to do whatever there. Because there's been numerous times in high school where people come up and they try to fit in with the crowd, and they say, well, this person's got somebody, so I'm going to try to find me somebody, and then they get whatever, and they have kids at a young age, and then they get married and it don't work out. So I didn't do it. I waited till I felt the perfect one has came along, and even though I ain't had kids yet, and it's been numerous times that I probably could have, but it hadn't never came down to where anything's happened yet. The way you know how, proud, loud, number one in a crowd. There's a time when you gotta stand up, but you can't give up. You gotta win it, win it. Listen to your heart when times get hard. There's a time when you gotta stand up, but you gotta stand up. You know, so many times that people think that the ones are the one for them, but sometimes it works out, and sometimes it don't. And it's not nothing on your part to why it didn't work out most of the time. Sometimes it's their fault to why the marriages broke up, and the other party has to deal with it. And even though I haven't had no kids of my own, and people think, well, you ain't got no kids, you don't know what I'm going through. I may not have no kids, but I do have to face not being able to see 2 that I feel are my everything, that feels like my own kids to me. I have to deal with thinking that it's something that I did to why she can't see her own kids. Because no matter what outcome comes, the parents should always get along if there's kids involved. And sometimes it's not possible, but some parents do get along even after they split up and find somebody new. The parents will get along with each other, and the parents will get along with the step parents. But sometimes the step parents and the parents can't get along with each other. And he thinks, well, he's older, he knows more about what he he knows more about what he's talking about because he's older. Yeah, I don't know how long he had been cheating on her before she found out. But it made it sound like she was cheating on him with me. But the relationship had already split up before me and her even got together. Some of these people that split up and their marriages didn't work, they think, well, I ain't gonna love nobody else because I don't want to fall in love with somebody else and then they cheat on me. There's been numerous times that I've had to prove myself, and I was willing to prove myself that I would never cheat. I'm just me. I'm nobody else. People's like, I don't want to deal with that because I've already had one failed relationship. Ain't no man gonna care. They're all cheaters. They're all liars. They'll all leave you. All because one left you. They'll think that all men are the same way. But sometimes the man that is willing to put forth effort will prove how much he cares for you. And there's numerous times the woman will push the man away. Say, well, I don't trust you. I don't believe you. My ex left me and cheated on me. Then you'll probably do the same thing. But that man that stays in the life and continues to fight, continues to do all they can to try to make them have trust in them, will prove that they can love again. Never give up hope that just because one marriage didn't work out that another one can't happen. Because sometimes you have to, even if it takes 4 years of going out to prove yourself, there may be a person out there that will care for you. Because that's what I had to deal with. I've never been through a split relationship to know what these other people are going through. But one year we had a womanless beauty pageant. And I put on a dress, high heels, and I made myself look like a woman. So pretty much I've been like, what will it be like to be a woman? I put myself in the woman's shoes. And I started thinking, what if this happened? What if that happened? How would this person feel? What are they going through? And learned that even though you are going through tough times, you have to keep your efforts high and never give up hope in everybody just because one person did something wrong. Even though that one person did you wrong, there's always somebody out there that probably would love you more than that person did. They will care for you more than that other person did. And if they take 3 to 4 years to prove themselves to you and will be by your side through no matter what you do, if you get mad about something that your ex did something wrong, and just because your ex did it, the other part that came into the picture gets chewed out for something that they didn't do wrong, but that person stays by their side. The woman gets mad, you put your arm around her trying to cheer her up, she gets mad, you take your hand off, but then a few minutes later you go back, you wrap your arms around her again. And you keep showing that you're there for you. You're there for her. And a man will keep loving you even if you chew them out for something that they didn't do and they keep staying by your side, that means that they do care for you. And a lot of men can be the same way probably and push women away after a failed relationship. But I hadn't seen a whole lot of them. I've probably seen a few. But most of the time it's the men that cheat on the women. The man will cheat on the woman for somebody else and have babies with the other woman. And they think that, oh, it's fine for me to do this. They think it's fine for them to cheat, but it's not fine because they have to answer to cheating on their other half. Yeah, in different cases, we all have to cope with whatever we go through. We all do it in our own ways. Some of us hold back our feelings and say, "Well, I can't talk about what I'm going through. I can't I can't deal with it. I just can't talk about it." But some people will talk about it. And we all have to be strong even though we have been through different situations of our own. No matter what, whether it's split relationships, loss of loved ones, or whatever. A split relationship is even like a two parents and one passed on. Because you wonder, how does a split relationship feel? For a child, sometimes a split relationship feels like the same way as a loss of a parent, depending on if the child can't see their other parent no more. If the child can't see their other parent, then it's like they've lost their parent altogether. And then the other parent has to deal with not having their other parent to help them out. That parent's no longer there to help with the bills or to support to take care of the kids of the person who has them. And if the other part don't want to help pay, if like you have custody and he's supposed to be paying but he don't want to pay, you're having to try to work yourself to death to take care of the kids when he don't give a crap about them. And the only reason he wants custody, if he wants custody of them, is so he can have the money. Child support's supposed to go to the kids, but most of the time the man won't use the child support for the kids, he'll use it for himself. Yeah, kids will be protective over parents sometimes. Kids will be protective over their parent. I hadn't really faced that myself because the child won't protective. He opened up with wide arms for me to come into the picture. But if it was somebody else, it could have been one of them situations. If the child was older, he could have easily pushed me away and not let me in, and then it would have never worked out. But both both kids opened with arms wide open, and there was numerous times that I was like, "How would you feel if I proposed to your mama?" No. So I kept on trying to open him up. He fell asleep in my lap several times, and I took a picture of it real quick, just to have a picture of him laying in my arms. And that's what I was talking about pretty much going out with her for 4 years. I kept asking him several times, how would you feel? And he would say no or something. So I pretty much had to talk to him, and I cared for him, and I would tell him every time I saw him, I would say, I love you. And he would say, I love you back. Or I love you too. And finally, on Thanksgiving Day or something, he came out the door. I leaned over, I whispered in his ear, I said, how would you feel if I asked your mama to marry me? He's like, I don't know. So I waited a look later on that night, but I was showing her a video. The first video I showed her was me and her singing, and I handed her a rose right there on stage in front of the camera at karaoke. And not that was when I didn't even know that it would go work out, because I saw a ring on her hand at that point, and that was after the split up had happened. So I thought, well, I'll just be nice and I'll give her a rose, not thinking that anything would come of it. And found out that she actually liked me, and that's why she came out to karaoke. And then the second video was a look back of the last 4 years, and it had pictures of the kids of the last 4 years of how long we've been together, and it had different pictures talking about different things. And then when I started showing the proposal video, that's when he kept saying, ask her, ask her. I said, not yet. Ask her, not yet. Ask her. I said, so finally I said, you still ain't answered my question. What was that? How would you feel if I asked your mama to marry me? He said, happy. And he kept telling me to do it. I said, not yet. And I was like, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you, when I look at you and tell you now, I want you to get down on one knee in front of her and ask her to marry me. And then if you do that, I'll get down on my knee and ask her to marry me right after you do. He's like, okay. And then he kept saying, now, now. I said, no, not yet. Now, not yet. And then it finally got to the end where I had recorded him saying, it was like I got a footage of him and the little girl saying, Mama, marry Lee. And I put that at the end of the video, and when it had him in the video saying, Mama, marry Lee, I said, now. He looked at me, he said, now? I said, yeah, now. And he got down on one knee right in front of the camera and said, Mama, marry Lee. And then I got down beside him and asked her. I said, that made him feel good being a part of it. He jumped up, he ran to the back and said, Grandma, Grandpa, we got a wedding to plan. And you could just about hear it on the footage. And then they kept running back and forth, him and the little girl. The little girl didn't pay much mind to what was going on at first. And then all of a sudden she saw that ring, her eyes popped wide open like, wow, let me see. What is it? I'm trying to remember what it's titled. Karen and Lee Proposal, I think, on YouTube. I think it's in that title of it. It's either Lee and Karen Proposal, Karen and Lee Proposal. I can't remember what the default picture is for it. But it goes through the whole step of the, how long was it? 7, 8, 9 minutes. I think it was about a 9-minute video of her watching the video on my phone. And then I think I put it on Vimeo or something of the behind the scenes where you could hear the little boy talking a little bit, and I had the description of what he was saying at the bottom of the screen as he was saying it, so others could tell what he was saying at what particular moment when he was leaning over toward me, asking me now. And it's not so easy getting them to open up to you. It takes time, but when the kids find out that the person really does care for you, they'll open up to you even more. But at first, sometimes they'll push you away, and sometimes they'll open wholeheartedly to you. But then other times it feel like they're pushing you away.